Today, I'll be taking a look at the Disney Afternoon Adventures Volumes 5 and 6, with 6 recently coming out and Volume 7 arriving in June. This would be a perfect time to go and do a quick overview of Volumes 5 and 6, since I've done overviews of the first 4 volumes. So far, Fantagraphics has done a great job bringing these old stories in brand new packaging to a new audience. They're very nice hardcover copies that are also affordable as well. Over 200 pages of classic stories in a nice hardcover collection, as well as also multiple shows from the Disney Afternoon are being represented. So you'll get stories from like the heavy hitters like DuckTales and Darkwing Duck, but you'll also get stories from shows like Goof Troop or Bonkers that haven't gotten as much of the attention or love a lot of the bigger shows get. So going over these stories in Volume 5, for Darkwing Duck, we have Marinated Mystery, which is by Roger Main, and it was translated by Jonathan H. Gray. For Adventures of the Gummy Bears, we have Somewhere Ogre the Rainbow, story by Tom Yakudis, with art by the Jaime Diaz Studio. For Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, The Ghastly Goat of Quivermore, story by Scott Saverda, and pencils by Horatio Saverda. For DuckTales, The Doe That Devoured Duckburg, story by Janet Gilbert, and art by Roberto Centillo. For Goof Troop, The 25-Cent Solution, story by Scott Saverda, layouts by animation legend Spike Brandt, and pencils by Kirk Tingblad, who would also go on to become an animation legend. For Darkwing Duck, Super Union Blues, story by Doug Gray, and pencils by Cosme Quartier. We have another Gummy Bear story with Adventures of the Gummy Bears Go for Croak, story by Cal Howard, and pencils by Rick Hoover. We have our Tailspin story with Unaganamaka Mayhem, which is the story is credited to Disney Publishing Worldwide, which probably means they couldn't find out who the original writer was, with pencils by Cosme Quartieri. Next is Bonkers, Disguise the Limit, story by Didier Lebornek, which was translated by Thad Komorowski, and the art was done by Comic Cup Studio. The last story is Darkwing Duck, Inversionary Tactics, story by Bobby J.G. Weiss and David Cody Weiss, with pencils being done by David Schwartz, color being done by Valerie de la Chalet and Dave Alvarez. Those aren't all the credits, since it would take too long to name out every single name for like all the, but those are most of them. The people from the Fantagraphics side who did the translating some of the international stories and remastering a lot of the old artwork. So it looks better now than it has ever looked, especially some stories that have never been reprinted until now, and some of the stories that weren't available in English until now, which is what separates the Disney Afternoon Adventures collections from a lot of the previous attempts at collecting Disney Afternoon era comics. Just like the previous 4 volumes that Fantagraphics has put out, I highly recommend Volume 5. Really quality work done by everyone involved. And for some stories, it's the only way you can actually read them in English. And for a lot of them that have been republished, it's the best way to read them, period. When it comes to the Disney Afternoon Adventures collections, one of my other things that I would consider a criticism was that they use pre-existing artwork as opposed to having new covers commissioned. But this is one of the rare times where I won't complain, because the Volume 6 cover uses artwork from DuckTales the movie, Treasure of the Lost Lamp, and nothing really beats Drew Struzan artwork. That movie's poster is excellent, so I won't complain about that. In this collection, it consists of, from DuckTales, a comic adaptation of Treasure of the Lost Lamp. The movie was written by Alan Burnett, but this comic adaptation is done by John Lustig, and with pencils by Cosme Quartieri. From Goof Troop, you have My Hero, story by Janet Gilbert, with pencils by Walter Carzon. From Tailspin, The Rise of the Pillager Queen, story by Bobby J.G. Weiss, and pencils by Cosme Quartieri and Jorge Sanchez. From DuckTales, Don't Get Squeezed by the Spells at Loch Nees, with the plot by Neville Jason, script by Jack Sutter, and art by Jose Maria Millet Lopez. For Adventures of the Gummy Bears, Hocus Pocus Poultry, story by Tom Yakutis, and art by Jaime Diaz Studio. Darkwing Duck, What's the Problem, story by Bobby J.G. Wise, with pencils by Cosme Quartieri and Wanda Gattino. From Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, Undermining Schemes, story by Bobby J.G. Weiss, with pencils by Romano Scarpa. From DuckTales, Getting That Healthy, Wealthy Feeling Again, story by Tony Strobel, and pencils by Annabelle Uzdal. From Tailspin, The Gates of Shambhala, story by Bobby J.G. Wise, with pencils by Oscar F. Saverdia and Jose Masroli. From Adventures of the Gummy Bears, Gruff Audience, story by Tom Yakutis, pencils by Annabelle Uzzal. And the last story is from DuckTales, Vanishing Act, story by Gerard Cousseau and Jean-Luc Barhomme. It was translated by David Gerstein, and pencils by Maximino Torrejada Aguilar. While that's not all the credits, those are some of the main ones. Like a number of the previous collections, the first story is an adaptation of a episode or movie. In this case, it's an adaptation of the DuckTales movie. And like all comic adaptations, it's always fascinating to see the differences between the comic version, the original script, and what the finished product was of the movie. This collection, like the collections in the previous releases, walks that fine line between cleaning up the artwork to make it look better than it ever has looked, without completely replacing it to look like it came out last year. For a lot of the stories, this is the only affordable way to read them, and for some stories, it's the only way to read them in English. What separates the Disney Afternoon Adventures collections from other omnibus collections is that the sources of where the comics come from. Some stories come from Disney Adventures magazine, other ones are from Walt Disney Publishing, and other stories come from international magazines or comic strips. A wide array of different sources that the comics come from. And the fact that they're all able to look so high quality in these collections, and especially in this one, is something to be seen. So I highly recommend volumes 5 and 6 and all volumes of Disney Afternoon Adventures. You can find them for usually $35 to $45. So I highly recommend. Till next time, see ya.